All right, Entree Architect community, it's 4 p.m. Eastern, which means it's time for the Entree Architect Context and Clarity live conversation for Thursday, February 2nd, 2023. And Katharine reminded me before we got started here, this is actually our 2-year anniversary of Context and
Yay.
Clarity Live. So thanks for being here. Thanks for celebrating with us. We'll get into it here in just a minute. When you get here, say hi. Let us know that you're here and let us know where here is for you. Where are you joining this conversation from? And if we've never met before, my name is Jeff. I'm in Indianapolis. I come here every weekday afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern for one reason, so that we can find clarity around the things that matter most to you, the architect. It doesn't matter if you're the employee of a firm or you own your own firm. Maybe you circled a date on the calendar. You said, hey, 2023 is my year, and you're on the runway to starting your own thing. Or maybe you have had your own thing for a year or 15 years or 27 years, and you're starting to rethink or reimagine what that firm could or maybe even should be. All of the topics that we cover, one topic every day, they all fall under the broad umbrella of the business of architecture. And they're all the need to know topics for the success of entrepreneur architects just like you. So thanks for joining us today. As usual, for these conversations, I am joined by Katharine MacPhail. Hi, Katharine.
Hey, Jeff.
Happy anniversary.
Oh, yeah. I know. It's so nice, isn't it? I remembered. Sometimes I don't remember.
Well,
But,
you
well,
remembered.
I
I did
remembered more
not. I
than
had
you did,
no
I guess.
idea.
Well, that's all right. It's
Yep.
been a long 2 years, but it's been a quick 2 years.
This
We've
is
had a
true. And
lot of conversations with people.
we have. Yeah, we were talking about that. And this is our 94th
Ooh.
Context and Clarity Live, and that would make it our
Mm.
685th
Oh,
Context and Clarity conversation
it's just
overall.
a
So
lot. That's a
that's a
lot.
lot of talk. That's a lot of talk.
That is, and when you say that maybe you're rethinking what your firm could or should be, every time we talk to a new person here, I think of how my firm could change. So it's just a weekly changing going on.
Yeah, well, it's the shiny object of the week, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it suits me, but yeah, it's been a lot of interesting conversations.
It has been, and I'm glad you brought that up because otherwise I would have forgotten this. Tomorrow we're going to officially launch the Context and Clarity Classroom.
Oh,
So over in the Entree Architect Network, network.entrearchitect.com, show up tomorrow. Um, and over the tabs over, we call it their channels, right? The channels over in the left-hand side, there's going to be one, there already is one, for Context and Clarity Classroom. I'm going to drop a worksheet in there, and then we're going to let you know
hmm.
when we're going to meet. We're going to give you time to fill out the worksheet, and then we're going to meet for 1 hour and go over that worksheet and take the things that we learned today, figure out how to put them into practice in
Oh,
your firm. So the Context and Clarity Classroom starts now. How about
wow.
that?
That's yeah.
A
So we
lot of
should all be
pressure.
taking notes, I
You
guess,
should be.
during this.
Should be. It's a lot of
Is it going
pressure.
to be like a mimeographed worksheet, or is
It
it
is.
something we
Yeah,
have to download?
it's gonna be slightly damp, very blue, and it's gonna have a
Smelly,
certain smell to it. Yep.
right? It's going to be kind of
Exactly.
wet. You can put it on your face like a washcloth.
Yeah, I wouldn't, but yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wish that would
Just
bring me
like that.
back.
Just
Yeah.
like that. I'm looking at the, comments over here, and it looks to me like Christian was the first in the room today, which, means that he is the winner of today's John Kenny Memorial Crocheted Bathtub Award. So congratulations, Christian. Glad you're here. Glad you won. Welcome back. John Jones, welcome. Jessica from Los Angeles. She says, "Happy Friday Eve." Somebody must be looking forward to the weekend. We've got a fellow alum to connect you with here today, Jessica. Spill the beans on that. Let's
Mm.
see. Erica says, "The one day I'm sitting here waiting for the crocheted bathtub." You didn't get it. I'm sorry about that. Good afternoon to Chris Novelli in Massachusetts and Yoko in Alexandria. Scott Thrift, a cloudy day on the bay in San Francisco. Welcome back. Mark Arlepage, it is time. And Barry Reed, hello from rainy, dark, and windy Scotland. Glad you're joining us today, Barry, or this
Mm.
evening for you. Cheers to you. Let's see, who else haven't we said hi to? Alan Benoit. Benoit. I know I ask you this every time I see you and you say it either way, but Benoit is what it is today. Alan, welcome back from Vermont. and Chad from the ATL. Glad that you're joining us today as well. If you are on Facebook right now and you're commenting away and you go, why are my comments not showing up like Chad's are or like Mark's are or like Jessica's? It's because you're in a closed Facebook group and you need to give Facebook permission for your comments to escape that group. So there is a URL in the bottom left-hand corner right now of your screen, chat.restream.io/FB, like Facebook, chat.restream.io/FB. Open another browser window, put that into the little bar up there, and a couple of clicks later, you will have solved all of your problems, every single one of them,
It's true.
especially the ones that involve getting your comments out of Facebook. But give that a shot. Those permissions do expire, so if you've done that in the past, it may be time to do it again. So chat.restream.io/FB. Now, I know we're getting a little bit of a late start. You never know what's going to happen with technology because that's the world that we live in. So
Yeah, only we
um,
know what happened.
that's right. And
Right.
it is what it is, right? It's just technology. So we're going to jump into it here, unless I've forgotten anything, which is always a possibility. We good to
Oh,
go?
you forgot to mention what's in the green room.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's true. We may be running out by now. We've had our guests back there
We
for so
definitely
long.
run out.
We
Yep.
have junior mints. So for all of you Seinfeld fans out there, tell me in the comments about junior mints. Our
Mm.
green room this week is stocked with junior mints, specifically at the request of our special guest today. I'm so
Hmm.
happy to to have that request. In fact, I might find a way on the way to the basketball game to get a box of junior mints if I
Do you
can.
like junior mints,
I
Jeff?
do. I do.
Huh.
It's dark chocolate with minty inside.
They s- do they still make them? I guess they do.
I don't know. I would think that's a classic. You can't get rid of it. Chris says he
Yeah.
hopes no one is having surgery. There you go. Seinfeld fans. If you don't know it, just Google it. Magic
I
Google
don't.
box
Yeah,
knows
I
all.
don't know.
All right. Well, you'll have to Google while we're talking. All right. Our guest today is an architect, an educator, and I'm going to say a YouTube star. He's a co-founder of the practice Design with Company and an associate dean at the University of Illinois, Chicago. Go Flames. He and his team make videos about architecture because architecture is everywhere and can help us to understand how the world works. Steward Hicks, welcome to Context and Clarity Live.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's
Great to be here.
it's great to have you here.
So
I mentioned to
I'm beating you to
Jessica.
junior mints. I'm sorry, I've got junior mints on
But at least you have fresh breath, and that's what's important.
me.
This, that's important in these live streams. Fresh breath. Absolutely. So I mentioned to Jessica. I don't think I've seen. Um, we've got a couple of Michigan alum here in the group, and you did your undergrad at Michigan.
I did.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm going to
yeah,
tell
very good.
the
So
story
there's
of
some.
the McDonald's across the street and how I've been tainted and unable to eat McDonald's since.
No, you just ate it all. You just ate it all at once. It could have spread out
Right,
over your
got
life, but you just had it all at once.
worlds. Right. A
Right.
lifetime
There's only
for
so
it.
much we can eat. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's it's good to get it out of the way, I guess.
That's right.
Yep.
Well, we've been talking all week about your YouTube channel. We've been talking all week about explaining architecture and storytelling. So, I think the place to start it, and some of us are trying to figure it out, right? So, what are the stories we need to tell and things like that? But you're an architect, you're an educator, obviously, like I said at the very beginning. Why did you just decide to start making videos?
Well, that's a great question. Okay, so why did I start? It's a big one. I ask myself all the time. Every week when I'm making a video, I'm like, why did I start? Yeah, okay, so I think it started by seeing what I saw as an opportunity on YouTube, where it felt like there was no one talking about architecture the way that we talked about architecture in school, and kind of like mixing theory and practice and that sort of thing. And sound quality
Yeah,
bad?
we went fuzzy again.
Oh no. All right, switching my
Do you want to try switching that mic again?
oh,
Right. Yeah. I think maybe it only has so much time and it's going to be okay. This is my
It's your prediction.
all
this is
right.
my diagnosis of the situation.
Can you hear me now?
Okay. Can hear you. It's still fuzzy.
It's
No, man.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because when I was watching your videos, I was thinking about how it reminded me of conversations we would have while we were in school that I kind of miss
Mm.
having those. So it did remind me of
Can you hear me now?
what you might sit around.
Yeah,
Well, we can
it's
hear you, but it's still kind of
it's the
crunchy.
same. It's the same. Yeah,
Oh no.
yeah. We may just have to roll with it.
Okay. Well, I can try other techniques, or I can talk slow, whatever works.
Well, why don't we just take a minute to try something else because it won't be very good audio for the.
Okay.
For the
You
podcast.
want me to try a different computer?
All right. Yes, we'll just
Yep.
talk amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
So for those of you that have joined us, if you have not checked out Stewart's YouTube channel yet, he's Steward Hicks on YouTube. It's at Steward Hicks. That's YouTube's new handle thing. But just go type Steward Hicks and you're going to find the YouTube channel. And I originally reached out to Stewart because I've been subscribed to his channel for quite a while, and I ran across this video about the type of architect that George Costanza would be.
yeah,
So
that
for
would
the
grab you.
Seinfeld fans, yeah, oh yeah, of course that grabbed me. Um,
Yeah.
so the Seinfeld fans, George Costanza, aka Art Vandelay. I was watching that video, and I took on an extra pro practice class with the undergrads this past semester, and I thought, what a great way to introduce ethics in architecture. So that was part of the beginning of the ethics lesson. And I originally reached out to Stewart and said, "Hey, thanks. This is a great intro to ethics in architecture."
I'm on the other computer. You want me to sign out of here? And
Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
give it a
Let's
shot.
try that. Yeah.
Give it a
That'd
shot.
be good.
Yeah, no worries. All right, so
Hmm.
we're going to
Well, now they know what was happening before. I was trying to keep it an exciting secret,
well,
but that was exactly
he's back.
our
He's back.
conversation that we had before.
There it is. All
all
right.
right, is this better?
It's slightly different perspective, even.
I think that is better.
Okay. See if I can get in my camera.
Yeah, that's better. It sounds better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So,
All right.
There we go.
So I heard some of what you were saying. Maybe I could pick back up in my story.
yes,
Yeah, please.
Sure. So like I saw what I thought was an opportunity. I had made videos as part of my practice to sell projects.
Mhm.
And, I was told when I was in grad school that I had given the worst presentation of a project that they had ever seen. But at the time I wanted to be a teacher. And so I practiced really hard to try and get better at it. And I guess all of that kind of coalesced when I started making these videos for some projects. And then I saw this opportunity on YouTube, or what I saw was what I thought was an opportunity. I wanted to do it for about 6 months to a year. I had recorded a single video 20 times because I hated appearing on camera. I hated talking to the camera. Thought I was terrible at it. But then COVID hit, and I had to go online and make lectures where I just had to do it. And when we did live stuff, I bought a green screen and did skits for the students. And at the end, they said you should make a YouTube channel. And I was like, I needed that permission almost, I think, from them to say, it's okay, go ahead and start. And finally, I was just like, I'm going to put it out. And I know it's not good yet, but every week I'm going to try something technical that I'm going to try to get better at. And I'm going to pair that with a topic. And so every week it's like, sometimes it's storytelling, sometimes it's audio, sometimes it's lighting. My lighting is bad, but every time, that's probably better. Every time I try to do something a little bit unique and learn as I make a video.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that you need permission from probably the TikTok generation.
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like,
I
did
can
you watch
understand that.
this middle-aged guy talking to you on YouTube or not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Exactly.
I think you're about 20 years younger than than we are, I'm
Us.
going to say.
Yeah.
So who's middle
Yeah.
aged? I don't know. Let's all be middle aged.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we can all be that age.
Well,
So,
anyway, yeah,
so
I can get that.
yeah. Yeah. So where do you get your ideas from
Good
for
question.
the topics?
Yeah, great question. So when I first started, I had lectures that I've been giving as part of
Mhm.
being a teacher. And so I started by just kind of like segmenting those, but quickly learned that like a lecture is not the same as making a video. Like it's a different thing. And then learning the audience of like who's coming to watch these videos.
Yeah.
YouTube
Mhm.
gives you so much analytics that you're able to assess really right away, like what are people responding to? What are they not? Like in the video, you can see where people step off when they come back. So being able to learn from that, trying to tailor it. So as far as where ideas come from, learning what the audience is appreciating,
Mhm.
and then trying to tie together a few different things, like what's at my disposal for being able to tell a story. Am I equipped to tell this story? Do I have any special access that I can gain and bring some insight to this topic? And more and more, I start with a topic like, can I make a good title and thumbnail first? And then create a topic around that, because that really is an important, like that packet, like how you package the topic is so important. It's almost more important than the topic itself,
Yeah.
learning that stuff. So where do I get ideas? I've got a running list of ideas. I'll see something and I'll put it in a note thing. I saw that pinup magazine is doing this one on Barbie houses through the years. I said, oh,
Oh,
that'd be a great idea. And then I'll reach out and see if I can make it happen, just so it just kind of grows on what I want to learn about, who I want to, and like, can I bring something to it?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Um, James Petty,
oh
who's
yeah, I
in
was
New
going to ask
York.
you. I
Yeah,
didn't
he's
ask
he's
him.
got a question. I was going to ask a very similar question, but I think we ought to run with James's here.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
It's changed. At first, I thought to myself, I want anybody to be able to watch it, or
Hmm.
to want to watch it. I think now that answer to that question that I initially had, I think as it's grown, trying to be a little bit more specific, I think my videos now are probably for a general audience,
Mm.
but I don't want architects to, what I say, I don't want architects to vomit if they see it. Like, I think that, a lot of times when
It's a
we,
high bar.
yeah, when
Mm.
we as experts see things that are channeled toward the public, it can feel overly simplified, that sort of thing. And I really try to resist that. So I want architects to appreciate it. I don't think it's necessarily for architects, but I'm trying to bring that back. Like my next video, this morning, I met with Getch Partners, who has a tower that is an engineering feat here in Chicago, and it comes down on it cantilevers off of its core. It's awesome. I imagine architects will want to watch this video, because I think I'll be able to get more insight into it than a typical
Yeah.
magazine article, even like talking to the designer, talking to the engineer. And my hope is that, like, through the channels, like, sense of being able to say things plainly, but also have access to experts and people who are really
Yeah.
engaged in these things, try to make it so maybe it bounces around a little more than it has in the last few months.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a really important point, because one of the things we've talked about this week is why would architects we've generalized it and say, why would architects tell stories? It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a YouTube channel. It could be a blog post. It could be,
Sure.
right, there's all kinds of mediums out there, but the idea of who, why are you doing it? But then right on the heels of that has to be the who, right? So who are you telling these stories for? So if you were to put yourself in the shoes of somebody in this community, which is, as you heard, Barry is in Scotland, and I haven't been paying close enough attention to see if Audrey popped in from Australia or others, all over the world, small firm architects. Um, why, if I'm not telling stories now, or if I'm not producing content now, whatever we want to call it, why should I be telling stories? Why is it important for architects to tell stories?
Right. That's not a lens that I typically think of where I'm gaining the lessons from. So
Yeah.
your question is a kind of new one for me. So I'll be speculating a little bit, but it seems like the primary times you're telling stories are one, maybe internally as you're formulating your own design concepts and things, you're
Mhm.
telling a story to yourself, and
Right.
how you craft a story to yourself, I think is useful for knowing when you're making quality decisions and that sort of thing. Then it probably expands to talking to clients, and then as marketing, right? I think firms that have a good story, and where, depending on where it comes from, they have a good marketing leg up on marketing. So I think
Sure.
that
Yeah.
it's probably pretty intrinsic. And I don't know, one thing that resonated with me, I listened to Roman Mars, the guy who has
Yeah.
the 99% Invisible podcast, and he was talking about when he took the Chicago Riverboat tour, there was this building. He didn't think much of it. He didn't really like it all that much. But when the person explained that these giant corners on the building were because the CEO didn't want the anyone to have a corner office, um, that
Mm.
resonated with him, and he started to appreciate the building. Like he didn't like it more, but he appreciated it. And I think the
Yeah.
power of the building to have a story for people to connect with and understand, I think, is valuable for things we know like marketing, and talking to a client, but then also things we maybe don't quite yet know what the value could be.
Yeah. Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that idea. I've not heard that Roman Mars story, but
Yeah.
it's like pulling back the veil, right?
Yeah.
How many people have you run into that so, oh, what do you do? Well, I'm an architect. Oh, when I was in high school, or I always wanted to be an architect, and my counselor told me I wasn't good at math, or whatever
Right.
the stories are, right? They took all the drafting classes, but they're still fascinated by what goes on. Sort of the backstage pass is what I call it. It's like
Mhm.
how do you guys design that office building or house, or whatever it is that we're working on. That's a good story with
Mhm.
Roman. What have been some of your favorite videos to do, and what goes into? I mean, you've talked about access,
Yep.
and,
Mm.
and looking for the unique things that you can access. Being in Chicago, I know a lot of the examples and things are based in Chicago, but
Yeah.
but um, but what have been some of your favorites?
The current one is always the favorite, so like my children. I My favorite continues to be the one that I did about bricks.
Okay.
I talked to a brick expert who gives tours on Chicago brick tours. And I went to him and said, "Hey, I want to make a video with you." He was like, "Great, great." And I was like, "I have this weird idea where what if I come to you thinking that bricks are alive because of this quote by Louis Kahn that
Mhm.
thinks
Mhm.
that bricks can talk?" And
Mhm.
the entire premise of the video is you trying to convince me that no, no, they cannot talk. They're not sentient. And we will do your tour, but you're also kind of teaching me why bricks don't talk or why they don't have to. And he was like, "Yes, I am so on board. I used to be in an improv troupe. I
That's awesome.
yeah, yeah. I was in the
Straight out
theater.
of Second City.
Yes." He was like, "I was in theater. This is perfect for me." And I was like, "Great." This was the first video I had ever filmed anybody else. I had to buy wireless mics to be able to work. It was a mess, but he was so funny. Like his dry delivery of like an exasperation with me of why bricks aren't alive, and then the payoff at the end. I don't know. I don't want to spoil it, but
Yeah, don't spoil it. I haven't watched it
you
yet.
gotta watch
I
the
won't
end
listen.
because there's a good ending too. And I was dying laughing editing that video. I It was the first time I had to edit something that was like n- not written out for myself. Like it was a editing challenge. It presented a lot of challenges. It was a lot of fun. It was
Sounds
great
like
having
fun.
somebody on board and learning a lot from. And it continues to be my favorite video by far.
All
That's
right.
awesome.
Let's check that out.
So
Yeah,
everybody needs to go watch the brick video. You gotta
yeah, yeah.
find it.
It's called "Bricks Are Smart, but Architects Don't Listen."
Oh,
That's the name of the video.
I like that.
I, I'm I'm pretty certain that within a couple of minutes, somebody will post the URL to that one here
Yeah.
in the comments. That'll be great.
Well, you'll have a little
Um,
spike in that some
There
days.
you go.
exactly, exactly. Yeah. Now, you're obviously juggling a lot of things. You're teaching, you've got to practice, you're doing these videos, which, I'm watching these videos. One of the reasons I love live stream, and as you know, we do this every day,
Yeah.
is that I'm not doing any prep work, right?
Right.
I'm research definitely and things like that, but I'm not doing what you do.
Right.
Mhm.
We're not doing what you do.
Right.
So I know a lot goes into this. So how how do you balance all three and
Yeah.
life and family and all those, and then how much, if any, alignment is
Mhm.
between these three? Do they work for or with each other?
Good
And how
question.
long does it take to put one of those videos? I was wondering that as I was
Yeah.
watching them.
I think a video takes about 40, 45 hours or so, each, I think. I haven't tallied it, so I might be scared if I
Don't
did.
tally it, don't
Yeah,
tally it.
don't do it.
That'll
Don't
just
tally it.
yeah.
Um, Good question. At first I was doing a video a week, but it was during COVID lockdown and I had no I had no resting moment. I was working probably 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, full nonstop. When I switched to one every other week, it feels a little more manageable. I have a week of pre-planning and then a week of post-production. I do it all myself. I edit everything.
Mm,
I've had help with research. I've now have a student, an intern, or a film student from
Mm,
a local school who will film when I go out and I'm interviewing people, and that's a big help. So, but I do most of it myself. I have people I talk to and things like that, conceiving with ideas. I did have a part-time person helping with the research and stuff, but for the last month, it hasn't been there. The process, yeah, like I it's about 40 hours. Start with trying to think of is it a good premise?
mm,
Can I get it around? Can I add anything? Then I do research, then I write everything. If Even if I have an interview, I will rewrite the video prior.
mm,
So and then that structures what questions I will ask in the interview, and so that it can be kind of thumbed in or combed in to the video. Each video is about 2,500 words to 3,000 words,
mm.
4 pages, single space, and I I guess I need the control of it. Like the live thing
mhm.
makes me nervous. It feels like the anxiety of it is more than the
Sure,
value
yeah.
for me of like, okay, you know,
Just throw caution to the wind. Here we go.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But maybe now, like, now that I feel more comfortable on camera and that
Right.
sort of thing, I might start
Yeah.
doing maybe like live things on YouTube or something. But
Mhm.
that was very anxiety producing in me at the
Sure,
outset.
yeah.
So
Hmm.
yeah, I write it all out, do it all as I can. It would be nice to have an editor. I think that's probably next
Mhm.
step. Um,
Right.
it's not that I think I'm good as an editor. It's just more like I almost don't know if I would know how to communicate what I would
Mm,
want to someone else because it's only been internal.
Mhm.
Like you do
Yeah.
everything. It's like how do I even work with someone on this? I don't even know. Like it's hard to conceive. Like so, even building that seems daunting. So
yeah,
I know it's a step, but I'm pushing it off probably longer than I should.
yeah,
Yeah. It probably won't be that hard for them to, after watching all of your material,
Yeah, yeah,
mhm,
understanding. You just need someone who can understand you
yeah,
yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
and channel you.
yeah.
James wants to know if you film, use stock footage or if you
I do.
film all the B-roll.
Yeah, so, I do. I have access to Getty images and video and then Storyblocks, and I have a Shutterstock, account, so I use all 3 of those. Uh, I've been more recently trying so it's hard so there's different kinds of parts of the video where it's like it's hard to tell a story about something actually, because it's like if I'm telling the story of how a building came to be,
Mhm.
I don't have footage of that architect drawing the thing. I don't have stuff to fill it in. That's hard to do, and it's really unfulfilling to just, like, throw in stock footage of some random architect. So, like, what you can do with what's available is they're channeled together very clearly. I've Most recently, one of the more technical problems I've been dealing with is trying to do 3D animations in there. I've known how to do it. It's just kind of like, can I get it into my workflow? That opens things up a lot because I can show sides of buildings that maybe I don't have B-roll
Mhm.
for, or I
Yeah.
can. And I also think on YouTube that plays well. It feels like you're getting information. I think like if a video is too laden with B-roll or stock footage, it feels like they just kind of cobbled this together
Right.
or
Mm.
something like that. So I think things that feel more bespoke are much better. And I'm trying to eliminate as much B-roll as possible,
Mhm.
but it's still a necessity. But I'm also trying to figure out how to write in a way that doesn't require B-roll.
Mhm.
Maybe it's about when I appear on screen, and I just don't rely on B or on other stuff. It's just me being animated versus when I do have something on screen, and trying to tailor that so that I don't need, the same amount of B-roll. Uh,
Mm.
so yeah, it's something I think about and try to eliminate as much as I can, but it's also a valuable tool.
Yeah. Yeah. You're becoming a full-fledged movie producer at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking that if you just kinda came across doing this, during the, lockdown, you probably weren't thinking, "I'm gonna learn how to edit, I'm gonna learn how to get these
Yeah.
images and all the B-roll and blah, blah, blah." You didn't set out to be a filmmaker or
It's fascinating, like, and it's so architectural, like, I've had to learn so much about lighting. I know much more. I mean, it doesn't show now because I'm off my setup. My setup is a Ferrari, and it's like if anything is off, it's like the Ferrari breaks down, it needs an engine out overhaul. But I know so much more about lighting, sound, and the way it works. Like, it's fascinating. That's all spatial. Then
Mhm.
there's editing, which is timing and spatial. Like, it's all architectural when I guess like everything's a nail to a hammer because I think that everything through the lens of architecture, I see it
yeah.
as architectural. But
Yeah.
as far as like learning about it, yeah, it's like I'm amazed how counterintuitive a lot of it is.
Mm.
Mm.
Like why you need to have a light pointing from behind you to like light your, like, that makes no sense. Like, why do you need a light from behind? But you do, and and it's part of the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So has has the video work informed your architecture?
Good question. Um, Probably. I don't know how yet. I don't know if I would know how to characterize it. I probably would rely less on jargon to make sure, like, I don't know, maybe like less faith in someone needing to have an architecture degree to understand what I'm trying to do, I think
Mm.
might be part of the design process. Like, is this understand? Like, I would
It's
think that
accessible,
it's
basically, to
accessible.
people.
I think
Yeah.
that changes the way I design. To be honest, I design a lot less right now.
Well,
Because
yeah,
of this.
you got a
So
full-time job making
yeah,
videos.
yeah, yeah. I'm also my associate dean role is a facilities role. So like the nitty gritty of getting facilities management stuff done, it's like the total opposite of things. It's interesting. So
Yeah.
I
Mm.
might also approach that differently because of the.
Right, right.
I did make a video about leaks that showed our architecture
Yeah.
building leaking, and those leaks got fixed. So
So that worked.
yeah, that worked too.
We presented this to the trustees.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So is there a business case for you, right? And everybody's
yeah, yeah,
situation is different, but with the UIC, with your
yeah.
work, your architecture work, and with the videos, is there a business case for the videos
It makes money on its own. A lot
through
of
YouTube?
Yeah, and outside
Mhm.
sponsors. A lot
Mhm.
of YouTubers, though, see YouTube as a way of channeling into a business something.
Right.
Um,
Mhm.
So like Eric, the guy who's 30 by 40
Yeah,
workshop,
Eric Reinhold. Yep.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, he sees YouTube as a way of like building a business.
Mhm.
For me, that's less important because I am a teacher and teaching is my business, and that sort of thing. So I really like making videos, like, and I like I started teaching right out of grad school. I loved doing it, and I see this as a way of elevating teaching. When you're teaching at a university, the university doesn't care how good of a teacher you are. Like, they care about, research dollars and stuff. And so
Mhm.
I'm trying to be like, Look, okay, we're gonna elevate teaching. We're gonna make this a thing."
Mhm.
And I
Mm.
want I want the university to recognize that, like, this has value and that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
that's me. That's my business. So I love video. I love architecture in video. If there is an escalation of what I'm doing, I would think it would be about like moving to documentaries or other
Mhm.
formats of
Mm.
continue to make videos. I don't see this as like building a business of even like selling online course classes or anything. Like,
Right.
I
Yeah.
I teach all the time. I have no real interest in making online classes or something like that. So
Yeah.
Mm.
in answer, like, no, I think it is what it is for me at this stage. Maybe at another stage it'll change, but for
Yeah.
me, I like what it is.
Yeah. Yeah,
Y
that's an interesting point too, because Eric was a guest on, one of our guests on Context and Clarity Live maybe
A
a
year
year
ago, maybe?
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that seems about right, and, in talking with Eric, I forget what the number is, but something like 70, 80% of his income is coming from passive income from, like you
Right.
said, it's courses, it's affiliate, it's all of these things, which is a different approach from yours.
Yeah.
And Eric makes fantastic videos as
Yes.
well, but like you said, they're different purpose, different
Yeah.
outcome, intended outcome there.
I mean, if there is a similarity, it's like I get my income from the university, and
Mhm.
this is seen as research,
Yeah,
engaging with the public. So, to me, I'm just not that business oriented either. Like, I'm an academic, so I get a regular paycheck, and like the roller coaster of YouTube and stuff. Like, I would never be able to rely, like, just to rely on the income would be scary. It'd be so scary. Like, I would freak out.
Mm.
that's funny.
I
The Go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry, Jeff. I'm just thinking about putting it into practice and there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of architects, and what if we all did videos, and would we think it's already been done, or, Stuart's already done that video? Do you think there's a room for all of us to make videos about what we're interested in?
For
Or
sure. I mean, YouTube works well when there's a personal, uh, when it's sort of personal. So if you're making something and you have a passion about the thing you're making, and you think that a YouTube video or whatever would be a good venue for exploring that, by all means. Like, I don't, I think so. Related to your question, I doubt 100,000 architects want to be YouTubers,
right.
but there, I think, is a real intelligence in thinking about the different media that one can be able to engage, like YouTube, and understand. I have a theory about like how space is presented on YouTube. Like, I think YouTube
Mm,
as a medium for talking about space is very particular. It's about stories. Like, if you watch the really popular videos on space, it would be like Architectural Digest home tours, and like
Mm.
those I think are popular because here's someone who's telling you why this thing has a story. Like, why I picked this house because it has a history, and I like this vase because my mom gave it to me, and people eat that stuff up. And I think YouTube, if you're thinking about putting a video on YouTube and you want to talk about your work, understand that YouTube is a medium about telling stories, and that it's not just about the visual walkthrough, for instance. Like, that won't play on you. No one will watch that really on YouTube. Like, pretty visuals are a very, like, that only gets you so far. And I think one other thing that I've learned is, if you're relying on people to come to the video because you're saying that this is architecture, and you're saying like you're trying to present this as if you should watch this or like this because it's architecture. That's not a good approach, because I don't think a lot of people just intrinsically like something because it's been called architecture. Like that isn't a like you got to, I think, tell the story, talk about why people should care about this, and just because it's architecture isn't the reason. That's the reason I care. Like that's what's I think interesting is like I want to promote architecture. Like that's what I care about,
Mhm.
but it's not a good reason for a video to exist. So I think that that kind of recalibration of like thinking about your audience, not relying on, well, this is architecture, so you should find this interesting. Like I think there's layers to how one might make a video on their own work and it playing well on YouTube. That doesn't mean, thinking through the algorithm of YouTube is the only reason why you'd want to put your own video on YouTube. But if you do want to have it be a thing, I think that there's value in thinking through the medium and what biases this medium has.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you were talking about that, it reminded me of the study, and I don't remember the specifics of it anymore, but it was the group that went out and they bought a bunch of they went to yard sales or something, bought a bunch of trinkets, and then listed them on eBay. And they listed them once. And here's I used this example the other day. I just made it up. Like here's the jade elephant. It's 3 inches by 5 inches, and we're listing it at $20 or something. And then they went back and they listed it. And here's this jade elephant that my great grandfather picked up in India during World War One. And and there's another Seinfeld tie in here.
Yeah.
It's going to come up in the comments here momentarily, but I forget what the numbers were. It was they sold at an exponentially higher dollar amount when there was that story attached, when someone could visualize and create an emotional attachment. And there's tons of research out there too on how we value products and services when we can make an emotional attachment to that, which is something that architects really need to listen to.
For sure.
When we start talking about the value of an architect, right? And so when you're talking about that, it's like that's related in a way to that study, certainly.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, there's Adam. Adam's got a great question. Great to have you here, Adam.
Yeah. He says,
Any advice?
well, you
Sorry,
can
go
read
ahead.
it, Jeff.
Okay. Any advice for someone that's just starting their career in teaching architecture? Adam is at a different school in Chicago.
Oh, really? Does it start with an I and a T and in the middle?
They don't need to buy a vowel.
That's a great question. I think when I started teaching, I think the thing that I learned as I have taught longer is how to listen to the students and meet them where they are and prod them towards certain areas of knowledge and things like that without having it feel like you're too heavy-handedly saying, no, they're wrong, you should be doing this, and that sort of thing. I think when I first started teaching, I probably had a real wall up. It was like, no, I'm right, listen to me. But I was really young too. So I was 26 or something when I started teaching. So I wasn't much older than them. And I felt like I had to establish my authority. And I regret that. Maybe I had to do it because I was so young, but like now, treating the students with a lot of respect, listening to what they're saying, even if their ideas, like even if you've seen it before and you think it go a different way, trying to give them advice in a way that empowers them rather than tries to shut them down and reassert your own thoughts. I think that that's the biggest advice, is try to empower it. Like the rhetoric of like, you got to break them down. And then like that, that's such an outmoded idea. And no one would do that these days. But, like it's so, some of my old teachers that I had when they were old, it was a different time and they thought it was about breaking you and then building you back up. And, I just don't prescribe to that. So I think that's my biggest advice. It's not a prescription of how to do it, because I think how to do it is very difficult, but I also think it's unique to each person and each teacher how they approach that. But that's the delicate balance I think that I try to strike. And I think I fell on one side maybe for certain reasons, and I'm happy that I hope that I've moved on from there.
Yeah, it's no fun to get broken down.
Yeah, right.
Right.
This is true. Yeah.
There's another question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, there's another question about my favorite YouTuber that I look up to the most, and that's an interesting one. I love Tom Scott. If you are familiar with him, he is a British YouTuber he is the master of the walk and talk. He can walk and talk and segue into a topic in a way that is so good. And it's hard to understand how or why he's so good unless you've tried it, because it's hard. And just watching him, he's a master. It's so good. And so he does some architecture every once in a while, but his videos are 6 or 7 minutes long. They're really narrative based, but they feel like there's no fat on it. It's boom, you're in, you're out, but it's fascinating. And I think he's my favorite to look and try to study. And I've watched everything he said about like how he does it. Like he wears an earpiece sometimes. Like I get into the nitty gritty of like the how. And there's another one today that I watched, Climate Town, who's really good, and it's all about climate science and stuff. And he has a video style too that it's like I can't figure out how he does it. Like, and it's like, how does he write it? How does he deliver it? Like, there's a mechanics to it that I think is really fascinating. So I'm going to study him for a minute. It's also very funny.
That's a bonus.
Yeah,
studying your craft.
Yes,
Tom Scott and Climate Town.
Yeah.
Climate Town. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we're right up against the top of the hour, which is pretty amazing how quickly this has gone. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
As you think about everybody that's in the audience right now and everybody that's going to watch this, at some point down the road, what advice do you have for an architect? And again, for everybody that's out there, we're talking about YouTube because that is definitely Stewart's world. I mean, go over to his YouTube channel, Steward Hicks. Great videos there. I don't even know how many. There's a lot of videos there.
In the 90s, I think.
90s, yeah, and everything from. I think there's a little bit of a dose of humor here and there in all of them, but some purposefully humorous topics all the way through, some famous architects of the past and linear cities and everything, and toilets and everything else in between.
Toilets. I was wondering about the B-roll on the toilets, and
that was all stock footage.
Okay, yeah, I get that now. But I was thinking,
That
was your reaction. Oh,
is he really going to drop his pay? Okay, yeah, he did. He's going to sit down.
Wasn't me.
Stand in. Had a body double. But that is definitely Stewart's world, and what he's doing is awesome. That doesn't have to be you, right? This could be a blog, or it could be TikTok or Instagram, whatever, right? But podcast, yeah, that's a great point. What advice do you have for people that are saying, there's something that I need to get out? Where's that thought process start? Maybe it's a strategy level or something else, but or maybe it's just start. I don't know. What do you think? What's your advice?
My advice: respect the audience, try to understand the audience, and also try to understand your medium. I think that those are my pieces of advice.
Great pieces, yeah.
I think, and that I think is translatable to just being an architect, even, designing or talking to clients. I think, to me, those are the things I try to think about a lot and have been forced to think about very specifically because of the medium of YouTube. But I'd also like to be able to import back to be an ambassador, ambassador of architecture to the public, but then also an ambassador back to the discipline and to the profession. of some of those lessons. And I think those are the big ones that I'm working on right now, and hopefully can be valuable for people to really think about as they're crafting their own work.
Yeah, yeah, that's great advice, and it's important. I mean, we've talked about strategy a little bit this week, and I think what you just said fits right there in there. So thank you for that. And we- again, this is another one of those. I say this quite a bit, but I would love to spend another hour or two talking about this. We'll have to have you back at some point and
Yeah.
pick the conversation back up.
It's been a lot of fun. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And as always, for everybody out there, again, thank you. If you missed it at the beginning, this is our 2-year anniversary of Context and Clarity Live, which I did not
Yep.
realize until Katharine brought it up when we were backstage. So thank you to all of you for 2 years. Right, I say this every week, but if it weren't for you, we wouldn't be having this conversation with Stewart right now, right? We wouldn't be 94, I think, Context and Clarity Lives in 2 years in at this point. So thank you to all of you for this. Coming up next week, we have Lakeisha Woods, who's the CEO of the American Institute of Architects. She'll be joining us next Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern. So tune in for that. We're going to wrap up this week-long conversation about storytelling for architects tomorrow. And the question for tomorrow is, when should architects tell stories? So we've started out, see if I can get this right. Why, what, how, and when is the
Mm.
what we've been hitting on. And of course, who's been wrapped into all of this.
Yeah.
So join us for that discussion tomorrow inside the Entree Architect Community Facebook group at 4 p.m. Eastern, and we'll talk storytelling again. It's been a great week. It's been a fun week, and we've learned a lot this week. So thank you to everybody. As always, please be well, stay safe, keep those around you safe and well. Find a little bit of time to breathe and relax. We need that. Find a way to rejuvenate. You've got to pace yourself when you do this every single day. So thanks for going along this journey with us. And again, Stewart, thank you very much for this. Keep up the great work on the videos. I'm always ready for the next one. And Katharine, as always, thanks for co-hosting this with me.
My
And
pleasure.
we'll see everybody again tomorrow, if not next week. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.